Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your very busy schedule for the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland Diploma in Paediatrics webinar this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. It's an absolute delight to have you here today. And so the running order for today is that we will be having a candid chat with Caroline, one of our existing students on the programme, just to see how she's getting on and how she found the programme. And I think there's nothing better than hearing from an actual clinician who has done what a physician's gone through the programme, warts and all, and their own experience. And then we will be the head of academic affairs, Mr. David Brannock, will be going through the programmatic overview, which will give you the curriculum, the fee structure, the time commitment, the entry requirements, and all the general, frequently asked questions. And he will be joined by Dr. Mark Rollins, who is consultant paediatrician and one of the leading tutors on the programme. And we're delighted to have Caroline and Mark joining us this evening. So thank you, guys. And I will now hand you over to Dermot and talk to Caroline.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Fantastic to see so many people on the call. Caroline, do you want to introduce yourself and just let people know who you are and a bit about yourself?
Hi, yes, thanks, Dermot. I'm feeling slightly fraught this evening. I've literally just got in from a busy day at work, so I'm sure you all know what that's like. So I'm Caroline Raymond. I'm a GP partner in West Yorkshire in a little village called Burley and Wharfdale. We have about 7,000 patients, and I have just finished my paediatric diploma where I passed, so that's good. And I've enjoyed the experience. And
Caroline, what made you, so you're and I'm conscious there's a lot of people from the Middle East, so to use the language they'll be familiar with as well. So you're a family medicine consultant, as will be known in the Middle East, family doctor, GP over here. What made you think, right, I want to go, you're already qualified, you've done your training. What made you want to do a program in paediatrics specifically?
Okay, so I've been a GP for 20 years and I did hospital peds before I went into general practice. So I actually did my paediatric diploma of child health in 1999 with the college in the UK. And I think I've been aware that although I see lots of mums and children and it's an area of practice I have got a great interest in, I was conscious that things have probably changed, guidelines are different. I wanted to take time to, I suppose, review my paediatric experience and check I was still up to date, check there was nothing I was missing, try and revisit some of the areas that I'd looked into before. I think when you've given advice for 20 years, you start to think maybe that advice is a bit out of date. And stupidly, because we're in COVID, I thought maybe I'd have a bit more time, which wasn't strictly true. But I had about a week where it was quiet and I thought, oh, I could do something else in this time. So yes, that's why I decided to do it, just to brush up on my knowledge, really.
And how I think, most people on this call are going to be in a similar boat of juggling clinical commitments and family and everything else. How did you actually find it? How were the last 6 months? You're still here and looking healthy, but
so it was okay. So I'm busy. I'm married to a lawyer who works all the time, and I have 2 teenage children. I work as a GP 3 days a week, and I'm an associate clinical director for our CCG as well on 2 other sessions of the week. So I'm quite busy. I found it fine. I did defer the second semester, but that was only because we just started doing COVID vaccines. And we were doing those on a daily basis. It was about Christmas when I should have started that, so I deferred that. But the rest of the time it was fine. I just made sure I read the stuff for the tutorial every week before we did it, and did the tutorial, which was really engaging, and it was something you could get really involved in and ask lots of questions. So that was good. And then before the exam, I just made sure I'd read through everything again. So I managed to fit it in.
And did you have a pattern every week? Did you kind of set aside a block of time, or did you just get to it when you could? What was your strategy?
So I think in the first semester I tried to be really organised and set aside a time that I had in the week to make sure I'd done the work exactly before the tutorial. It got busier as time went on in my second and third semester, so I just did it on a more ad hoc basis, but I still managed to fit it in. And it's quite good having it on your phone as well. So you could find that if you'd run out of time, you still had moments where you could read at the end of topics on your phone. So actually the mobile app works really well. I think you've frozen, Dermot.
I think Dermot has frozen there for a minute. I'm sure he'll come back in, hopefully. Yeah, totally frozen on us. And Caroline, just in terms of the actual online environment, how did you find that in terms of, you know, just was it easy to use, navigate?
Yes, it was. And the tutorials worked very well. They were by Zoom. As I said, they were really interactive, and it felt easy to have a sort of two-way discussion between several people. You find as well that it's set out in a really good way, and if you want to read more information, there's little headings you can take, and you can go off into bigger guidelines. So for something like, there'll be the nice guidelines on gastroesophageal reflux disease, if that's what we were talking about. So you could go into more detail if you wanted, but it was really easy to follow.
Brilliant. And just in terms of the tutorial times, did that suit you? Were you able to attend them, Caroline, or did you find it challenging?
No, apart from when I was on holiday, I managed to attend them. That was fine.
Great.
Yeah, no, and they were about an hour and 15 minutes, and that worked okay. I think it would have been slightly harder if my children had been smaller and I've been trying to put them to bed. But no, it worked really well, and all of them are recorded. So if you missed one, you could go back and watch it.
Super. And just in terms then of just the assessment methodology, it's exams predominantly. And how did you find that, Caroline?
So the exams were fine. They were quite challenging, but they were good. They were proctored over the internet, which worked really well. So somebody watches you taking the exams and checks that there's nobody else in the room, and that the area around your computer was really clear. So that process, once you've done it the first time, worked really well. And you had 60 minutes, and you usually didn't need that amount of time. And once you'd finished, you just finished. That worked well. There were the video assessments as well to assess your consultation skills. And actually that was okay. I don't particularly like doing videos, like most people don't. I think I found it was easy just to do it as if it were a consultation and actually not watch it back. Just do it in one go as if you had the patient in your room, because I felt that was probably a bit more realistic. And the minute you start watching it back, you start to criticize yourself, don't you? And think, oh, I need to redo it. And actually that probably wasn't then very realistic. So it's much better just to do it, answer the questions, and just send it off. And I thought that was a good way of assessing how you explain to people and how you try and put small children at their ease. And I'm not sure that there's any other way of doing it in this virtual time. So I think it worked okay. And I think it was a really fair assessment.
How many competency videos did you do, Caroline? Just out of curiosity.
There were 3.
Okay.
So I think the first one doesn't count for the mark. And the most difficult thing was the first one was we had to get somebody else to act the other part. So I was trying to coerce my children to be the actor, and they weren't being very helpful. The second 2, you just videoed it to your phone, and that was fine.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Brilliant. Sorry, I had an internet connection issue there for a second. Caroline, did you find that, how relevant was the content to your practice? Did it achieve what you wanted it to in terms of updating you, making you a bit more confident in what you knew and in how you're approaching cases?
I thought it was good. I thought a lot of it was very primary care orientated, which is actually probably where most children get seen, and certainly is the first line of assessment. It was interesting. The majority of it was revision of things that I normally do, and it was really good to be updated. There were some things I hadn't covered for a long time, and that was really interesting and really informative. And there are a few things that really changed my practice. I sort of could sort of review what I was doing, and we've done a couple of teaching sessions back at my practice just to go through some things and to try and get people up to date. So yeah, it was good, and it was a nice having in our tutorial group. There's a variety of people there, so some were primary care physicians, some were paediatricians in training, some worked in emergency medicine, and we had people from all over the world, especially in my first group I was in. So it was really interesting to hear what happened in other parts of the world and to discuss how other areas would manage something. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that is a strength, I think, of the program, that you've got the kind of homogenous baseline that everybody is a doctor, but then there's there is probably a majority of family medicine, but then there's GP trainees, there's pediatric trainees. We get the occasional pediatrician coming back for just a revision or a different international perspective. And I think having, especially there's a lot of emergency room doctors in this program, as you say, and it's probably 10% of each intake. And just having those different conversations is it's a really kind of enriching part, that it's not just one kind of siloed view from one country. You're getting an international perspective, and you're getting an interprofessional kind of mix as well of disciplines. Caroline, is there any advice you would give to somebody thinking about starting out on the program in terms of how they would approach it?
So I think I would say, don't be put off by Zoom. So I know it's been 18 months into a pandemic, and quite a lot of us are fed up with Zoom. But actually it does give you that breadth of meeting people from very different backgrounds, and actually I think that's a benefit of the program. I think the good thing is just to be on top of it, to try and read the stuff with the tutorials before you before they happen every week, because that's really helpful, because then you can ask any questions that you might have, and just put in your diary when the video is, because a couple of times I forgot till that morning it was meant to be due that afternoon, and then it was a bit of a panic. But yeah, so just be organized. But it's great, and actually it's great because you're seeing this stuff every day. Most people who do this course will be doing some element of pediatrics in their daily job, so actually that's a perpetual revision of what you're doing, and it's all very relevant, so it's really good.
Brilliant. Look, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Caroline. It's great to see you. Delighted you're finished and have done well. So look, congratulations on that. And yeah, don't feel you need to hang around and listen to Mark and I talk about the the program.
No, I need to go and cook supper now, otherwise my family will complain. So have a nice evening, everybody.
Thanks so much, Caroline. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. So what I'm going to do now is share screen. And over the next part of the talk, I will go through the background to the program, all of the kind of logistics, the fees, eligibility, what the program covers, and hopefully give you a really good sense of it. And Mark and I will be kind of tag teaming on this as we go through. Mark, do you want to introduce yourself before I kind of kick into this, actually?
Thanks, Dermot. My name's Mark Rollins, so I'm a consultant pediatrician. I've been so for 30 years, so I'm getting old and grey. Still working in clinical practice in the UK. My background, I've trained in London, Edinburgh, Dublin, and North America. I continue to examine and lecture in various universities. I'm a fellow of the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health, and member of the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland. And I got involved in this as I think it's a fairly unique course to update the latest knowledge on managing infants and children, not only in Ireland, UK, Europe, but across the world, as we're all getting closer together through the internet, and guidelines are getting closer all around the world. And I think it's a great course to give you an update of what's happening in the world of pediatrics and what sort of expectations are out there to manage infants and children safely. I would like to say at the outset, we're not here to make you into consultant pediatricians. All of you will be qualified doctors from all around the world. you will have had some exposure to pediatrics, maybe as a medical student. Some of you will be doing a lot of pediatrics or pediatricians in training, or even trained pediatricians, or in accident and emergency departments or anaesthetists. We're not interested in highlighting one area of pediatrics or the other area. We're interested in bringing everybody on board. So we don't want anybody out there to feel that maybe they're not experienced enough for this. It's all about giving you an update of the latest sort of evidence-based practice on how we manage children. It's informative, it's fun. Let's not forget about the fun. We enjoy our tutorials and we enjoy our teaching. And yes, we have to get feedback from yourselves and various discussions and some exams and things. But again, if you attend this course, you will be exposed not only through your modules that we'll provide you and the information and additional supplementary reading, but we'll be able to give you the knowledge of what's out there. And we're open to all the tutors are all experienced tutors and examiners, and most of us are still working and able to talk about any issues that you want to talk about. I remember when this started a couple of years ago, we were able to discuss all our issues with COVID, and we still are. We can talk about lots of things, but I say we're here to help and advise. And we always update our modules to make sure it keeps up with the latest evidence base. We can't cover everything. We're not here to, as I say, give you too much, but here to guide you of what the current expectations are of managing infants and children, not just in Europe, but around the world. And so somebody gets something out of this and uses this diploma for the future.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thanks a million, Mark. And that is a fantastic summary and intro to what we're going to talk about. So I suppose one of the first things that you're going to see with this program is iheed sitting alongside the College of Physicians all over it. And the College of Physicians are probably well known to everybody. iheed, perhaps not so much. So iheed are an Irish company, now part of the Cambridge Education Group in the UK. And effectively, iheed is a specialist online medical education organisation. And we work with the Royal College of Physicians, and we work with institutions like the University of Warwick to bring prestigious qualifications to a global audience and to help those institutions scale their education to have more impact around the world. Since we started, we've over 400,000 course completions. That is everything from full family medicine residency programs and master's qualifications to shorter diplomas like this and CME programs. So that's iheed. The College of Physicians needs far less of an introduction. So Royal College of Physicians of Ireland, founded in 1654 under Royal Charter. In Ireland, the College of Physicians are the national body that oversees specialist training in all medical disciplines apart from family medicine. So all of the postgraduate specialist training programs are run and overseen by the College of Physicians, which people then become members of. They are a world recognized leading organization in medicine and in education. And the Faculty of Paediatrics has been around since 1982, and in its time it has had several iterations and variations of diplomas and qualifications in pediatrics and child health, and this program is the latest innovation in how they're bringing pediatric education around the world. I suppose, Mark, you made the point, we're not trying to turn people into consultants, and I think the pathway that's up here of, you know, doing specialist training and higher specialist training and your exams to lead to consultant status, you know, that's a minimum of an 8-year journey with no bumps in the road. Why did we set out to do a 6-month qualification in pediatrics? And in your experience, like, where does this kind of sit in someone's career path?
Yeah, interesting. In my core training and specialty training, I sat the Diploma of Child Health examination, and in those days, it was literally arriving at a centre and being examined, and you couldn't really do that without having some sort of paediatric experience and the knowledge. But that's all very well if you're working and in training. So was this qualification, what it does, it exposes you to that training and then examines you on it. And we're able to do this online. And this is supervised by the Royal College of Examiners, who supervise other paediatric examinations. And they're as keen as us to keep standards going and making sure you're exposed to the appropriate training. Traditionally, doctors working in primary care would have done the Diploma of Paediatrics, but also training at all levels, or indeed anybody who is exposed to managing children, which can often be up to 50% of a doctor's clientele. So we all come across children, no matter what doctor you are, and it's important that they're aware of how we manage, or how we set out to manage these children. And again, so it's useful for doctors working in primary care, i.e. family practitioners or family practitioners in training, or trainees in any specialty, including paediatric training. Dermot will explain about, does this take part of core training or specialty training? It doesn't. However, if you complete this course, you will have a Diploma of Paediatrics after your name. So if I was in an interview panel and the interviewee said to me that they had quite a lot of paediatric experience, well, if I saw a Diploma of Paediatrics after their name, I know that they have gone through an intensive course, they have attended, they have contributed, and they've completed the course. And certainly it would stand to you in any specialty to show that you have the knowledge of this up-to-date training.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, Mark. And when you do compare two CVs side by side, and one has a demonstrable evidence base of, I have studied pediatrics to an internationally recognized level, and the other doesn't, that stands out. I think, so in terms of what the award is, it is an academic qualification. So it's a diploma in pediatrics that is recognized worldwide, and we've students on this program. Students, they're all doctors, from I think it's 41 countries. We've had people from, and the standing of the program is amazing. What you get, as well as the academic qualification, is you will take care of most, if not all, of your CPD requirement for the year. So the Royal College will give 44 hours as a standard kind of CPD certificate. However, depending on where you are in the world, so if you're in Qatar, for example, the QCHP will grant you 36 hours. If you're in Abu Dhabi, the health authority there will grant you 96 hours. So it depends on which health system you're in, how much CPD you will get, but generally you will take care of your year's CPD requirements. We're very, very clear, as we've said a couple of times at this stage, there are huge career benefits to this, but obviously as a 6-month program, it doesn't confer any specialist status on you. That said, a diploma in pediatrics or child health is one of the kind of main qualifications that doctors do in a postgraduate setting. So, Mark, in terms of what we cover and why, what are we looking to give people? And you kind of touched on some of this already.
Yeah, I think what we try and do is start right from the beginning. We're obviously going to talk about management of different conditions, but more so about how we take a simple history from children of all ages, how we examine children and demonstrate how we do that. And then we can work through different areas, whether that's acute pediatrics or indeed community pediatrics. We're not interested in neonatal intensive care or advanced intensive care. We may touch on that, but it's looking, as stated there, common presentations, screening, disability, development, growth, and we'll go through all the specialties. We're able to cover in the 22 weeks all the areas of specialism in pediatrics, but with a theme of pitching it at how family practitioners are likely to come across these issues, but also those who want to update their pediatric knowledge about what do we actually do about this in 2021, and how do we manage, what are our expectations, what are the current guidelines, what is the evidence base. A lot of the tutors are still involved in research, and we have to keep our skills up there. Things are changing all the time, and again, we update our modules. As Dermot is showing you there, 22 weeks, and we have our first block of 6 weeks, a nice simple introduction where we meet and greet, and then get into the basis of history taking and general examination, which is key to pediatric care. We'll obviously touch on recognizing the sick child and going through what the pathways are to managing the sick child. And then the basic common presentations around the world, whether that's simple viral upper respiratory tract infections or wheeze or asthma, continuing on the theme of airway issues, area of dermatology, and then chatting about attainment of milestones and how you assess those. And we then have, and Dermot will talk a bit about it, a little exam, a mock exam to get you into the way of it, and we do an online exam. I think Dermot, you're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll cover the exams in a while. But so yeah, that's the first kind of 6-week block introducing us in, and then yes, we'll move on to the next couple.
Yeah, so block 2, then we jump from 6 weeks to 8 consecutive weeks, and as you can see, then getting into the common areas of childhood disease, obviously preventable disease and vaccines, infections. Again, infections, we cover infections from all around the world. Some people worry and think, you know, maybe if this is based in the UK and Ireland, that we'll be talking about illnesses endemic to ourselves. Not at all. We need to know about malaria, sickle cell and TB all around the world, and we talk about those things. Getting in then to renal conditions, child protection issues, obviously growth, puberty, and then a few developmental issues, and touch on behavioral issues and autism and ADHD.
Yeah, exactly.
And then third, then finishing up with another 8-week session, and again, genetics, diabetes, jaundice, tummy pain, constipation, okay, other gastroenterology things. And these are all common things that you'll all come across and need to know how to manage. Headaches, fits, faints, funny turns, simple basic cardiology, what we would expect family practitioners or pediatricians in training or other specialists to know, the basics and we see lots of children with chest pain and palpitations and syncope and know how to assess and manage. And allergies are out there, becoming increasingly prevalent all around the world, food allergies. And then we finish off with a few simple sort of surgical issues, just being able to examine and recognize who to refer before we finish up with another block 3 assessment.
Brilliant. Yeah. So you can see there's a really comprehensive coverage, and it's, you know, it's as we said at the outset, you know, it's dealing with kind of common presentations and then red flags that you don't want to miss. So the way that the program is structured, then you can see there's topics to each week, and this really helps you get into a kind of a rhythm or a pattern. And that's why I was asking Caroline at the start, you know, what approach did she take to actually studying it? So we'll start off with an induction week, and that induction week is there to make sure that you're comfortable with the online learning environment, that you know what supports are available, that you know all about the structure of the program and the assessment, and really just to get you comfortable before you kind of start week 1. And each week then has a particular theme and topic. So it follows, you know, we'll give you a case discussion, which can be usually around a clinical case vignette. So it'll be, you know, a child presents with whatever symptoms it might be, and then you have a discussion whenever you want during the week with your group of 20-25 people around, you know, what are the next steps in managing this case. And while you're doing that, then you're going through what is astonishingly good e-learning content that we've developed for the program. And to Mark's point earlier, we've made sure that this content is absolutely up to date. It's really, really engaging. It's focus, you know, it's the latest evidence in each clinical area, and it's focused on patient cases. It's focused on clinical decision making and patient management. So you bring yourself through this during the week at your own time and pace. It works as well on a mobile as it does on a laptop or a tablet. It's really engaging. What it's, I suppose, what it's not is, it's not pages and pages of flat text. It's not PDFs. And so actually, I'm going to flip and show you actually what some of the content looks like in real life. So if I jump back to this screen, so when we come into the program, you see a very similar structure to what we showed you on a timetable, that, you know, here's the first 6 weeks of the program. And if I go into respiratory symptoms and then I click into my first module, this will all follow a reasonably predictable format where we'll set the learning outcomes, and this sets the boundary of what you can be examined on. There's lots of video and animation throughout, and this
ear infections can be viral, bacterial, or in the case of otitis externa, fungal.
And I won't let that play too much longer, but there's lots of visual animations. For people whose first language is in English, the audio transcript of everything is there. It's very interactive. It's very, you know, as I said, not flat. It's immersive. We try to get you thinking about how might a patient present and what might the scenario be. So the quality of this content is really, really enjoyable to go through. It gives you everything you'll need, and it gives you everything you'll need to pass the assessment, but it does it, and lots of external reading and supplementary reading as well, but it does it in a way that gets you straight into patient cases. So you do the background, you get the information you need, and then you get into patient cases pretty quickly. There's lots of, when you get into the patient cases, then it'll give you scenarios, and then it's going to get you to make decisions very, very quickly about what your next steps will be. And it tells you what you've done right, or it tells you what you've done wrong, and why. So on a week-by-week basis, the content that you're studying, there's about an hour of this every week, is really, really immersive. So that, you know, that content is kind of the heart of the program. And then the second part of it is when you come together with your group for your tutorial. So if you are in Europe or in Asia, your tutorial will be on a Thursday evening local time. So about this time on a Thursday evening is when people in UK, Ireland, and in fact down into kind of Africa, South Africa, will come together in their group for their tutorial. In the Middle East, it's Friday mornings that we go for before prayer time. And then similarly in Asia, Australia, it's Thursday evenings. So, you know, Mark would deliver at 10 a.m. on a Thursday here, which would be, you know, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in Sydney. So that flexibility works really well. And as Mark pointed out, it's, you know, by having the groups localized like that, the discussions that you'll have in your tutorial group will be about clinical contexts that are local to you, and it won't feel like kind of an Irish UK course transplanted somewhere else. So those tutorials are fantastic. They're all recorded. You can watch the whole series back afterwards if you want, or, you know, if you're on call and you happen to miss a tutorial, that's fine. It'll be uploaded by a couple of hours after it's happened. And then we get on to the assessment, and the assessment of the program. Caroline spoke a bit about this, but the assessment is, I suppose, straightforward. And what we've tried to do is make it very authentic. So you do a skills submission and an online exam at the end of each of the blocks. I'll speak about the exam first. So the exam is where the majority of the marks go, and you need 50% to pass. What the exam will do is present you with a series of case scenarios. So much like you'll have in the discussion forum and much like you'll see in the online content, it will give you a case of a patient presenting and ask you for the next steps in diagnosis, in management, in referral. You know, what's the appropriate thing to do and what's the decision you should be making. The other thing we want to test as well as clinical decision making is communication skills. And that's where we'll get you to upload a video that you record on your phone. And the first one will generally be on history taking. The second video will generally be on explaining a diagnosis to a patient. So I think we've used someone going on growth hormone injections, and, you know, how would you go about explaining that and reassuring somebody as to what it meant for them? And then the third one is where you're breaking bad news. And, you know, the college think that they are really important things, that if you're going out with a diploma in pediatrics after your name, that you should have a level of confidence in doing all of those. And they're, as much as we value assessing them, they're a great learning tool as well when you actually sit down and think about, well, how would I approach this? Mark, do you want to say anything on the assessment?
Yeah, and again, we're here to get you through this, to get your qualification. If you turn up and engage in discussions, you will have no problem about passing this diploma. Anybody who has a difficulty, it's pretty predictive that they haven't really been attending on a regular basis, and not surprisingly struggle a bit. So it's very straightforward. We use multiple choice questions. We use some base questions and lead questions and modified answering. Again, we're not getting you to write essays, not even 1 or 2 lines, just a few words. The video is good fun. It's only about 7 minutes. And you can do it with an actor or not an actor. And again, it's been difficult with COVID, but we haven't had any issues about the provision of videos that we can assess. Again, we're just looking for simple, straightforward scenarios and conditions. We're not here to look at advanced pediatrics, and it's just to give us assurance that you've engaged and you've got to a level that is safe and informative.
Yeah. So what we've gone through there is a lot about the program structure and what we cover and how we assess it. I suppose what it feels like to be on the program then, we put you in groups of about 20 to 25, and that's really important that we keep that size small. Even though it's an online program, you need to get to know your group well, you need to get to know your tutor well, and it needs to be a safe space for lots of back and forth conversation about how these issues present and what you would do about it. So keeping that group size that's at that 20 to 25 mark is very, very important to us. The 3 blocks are really well paced and it's very flexible. As Caroline said, she got extraordinarily busy with a COVID spike around Christmas, and she simply paused and came back onto the program with the next intake. So there's a lot of flexibility built in. This rhythm of your case discussion, the e-learning content, and the weekly tutorial, that pattern works extremely well, and it's very easy to fit this in around your other commitments. We think you'll spend an hour or so going through the e-learning content, an hour or so at your tutorial, an hour or so contributing to the discussion forum, and then whatever other reading or assessment preparation you're going to do in a particular week. So we think it's about 5 or 6 hours a week. So very, very manageable within your clinical commitment and your family life and everything else. And there's a huge amount of support available. There's an entire program management team whose job it is to make sure that you know everything that you need to do, when you need to do it by, and that you've got the support you need, so that if you run into any difficulty, there's someone there to talk to about it. And again, the Royal College are really supportive. They're very learner centered, and they have lots of supportive policies that help people get through when they need it. But the vast majority of people start this program and finish it without interruption and do really, really well. In terms of eligibility and fees, so what we said at the start, this program is only open to medical doctors. So it's only for people that have, an MD, an MBBS, an MBCHB, etc. You need also to be able to complete the program in English. So it is conducted and examined through English. Now, because you're not coming to Ireland or the UK to study, and because there are no essays in this program, you don't need a formal English language proficiency test. We simply need to know that you've got the standard of English to understand the program and complete the exams. The application process is really straightforward. You give us your university medical certificate, you give us identification, and you give us a personal statement as to why you want to come on the program. The fees, again, very straightforward. It's €2,500 for the fee. You pay that as a €500 deposit, and you then pay either 2 payments of 1,000, 4 payments of 500, or some people just pay the 2,000 up front. So very, very simple. The Royal College, they set this fee to be accessible and affordable to most doctors around the world. There are no other scholarships available or bursaries available for it, and it's a question that often comes up, so better to kind of state it up front. So in terms of people that have gone through the program then, we are about to hit the 1,000 learner mark on this program from 41 countries, which is a phenomenal journey that we've come on. There's hugely strong engagement on the program. Every time we do feedback surveys in this program, it's embarrassingly high how people rate the support, how they rate the quality of the tutoring team. And as Mark said, the tutors are all really, really experienced clinicians involved in education, involved in research, and that lends itself brilliantly to this type of program. It is important that this program is not just the exam at the end, that it's all about the education experience leading to the qualification as much as it is about just passing the exam. We've a 97% completion rate so far. So, the vast majority of people that get onto this program finish it and finish it really well. And, a 97% completion rate during COVID is something that we're amazingly proud of. So I'm going to finish up talking, conscious of time, but I suppose to summarize the program, it's 22 weeks long, and goes by extremely quickly. Every time we talk to people like Caroline who are on the program, it's hard to believe now that she's finished. She only started it 6 months ago. It's only open to medical doctors, so it's that sets an immediate high standard of the peers that you'll be with on the program. And that international perspective is really interesting, as is the fact that it'll be a mix of family medicine, pediatrics training, other trainees, and indeed other qualified doctors in areas like emergency medicine or anesthesia, etc. The qualification you get from the College of Physicians is recognized all around the world. The other thing I'd say about the program, this program fills up every single time we run it. We keep those ratio, that 25 to a group ratio, and we go beyond that every single time we run the program. So we'll have a couple of groups in Europe, we'll have a group in kind of the Middle East type of time zone, and we'll have a group for Asia and Australia, and they fill up every single time. So the education advisor team will happily talk to anyone about queries they have. We'll send you out the links to apply, to come onto the program. But if you are interested, I would suggest applying sooner rather than later, because it does always fill up. So I will stop share here and see, Rebecca, have I missed anything on chat, or is there anything we should emphasize?
No, I think all the chats have been answered all the way through, Dermot. So there's just, everything really has been answered in detail, which is good.
Yeah. Giva, that's no problem. The team can show you a sample certificate, no problem. It's a suitably nice piece of kind of cream parchment with the Royal College's seal on it, and it's signed by the president of the college. So yeah, it looks the part. And just Dermot, how do the students get that? Is there a ceremony, or how do they get that certificate? So the Royal College send out they send out the certificates afterwards. They can also give a full transcript of grades afterwards if needed. We had planned on having ceremonies based out of Dublin. COVID put paid to that, but I think by the time anyone comes onto the program now, they should be back, thankfully, with the restrictions easing. So yeah, that's something we certainly miss, making an appropriate fuss at the end of a program. But I suppose what is important is the certificates aren't issued digitally. They're, you get the full piece of parchment sent out to you no matter where you are in the world. And that's generally about 6 to 8 weeks after your final exam, by the time the Board of Examiners has met, and it is everything's processed and sent out. So he has just asked there to repeat the fee structure if you can. Yeah, sure, no problem. Give me 1 second, I'll put it up on screen again. So the fee is €2,500 for the program, and that is the only fee you will need to pay. There's no separate exam fees, there's no registration fees, there's no anything. You don't need to buy any textbooks for the program, so that is the only money you will need to spend on the program, no matter what way you go through it. And you can pay either by monthly installment or by semester, or you can pay up front, and you can pay either. We use a secure online payment system, Stripe, which is a credit card payment system, or you can pay by bank transfer. So there's lots of different ways that you can pay that fee, and the education advisor team will happily talk to you about the specific detail of it. But yeah, it's a fairly simple payment structure. And we use Stripe, which is the online payment process. So you literally click on the link and you pay by semester, or you pay by monthly subscription, with whichever suits your own best requirements. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think it's €2,500 in total. We do ask for a €500 deposit. Yes, for the 6 months.
to secure your place. And I know Dermot has said this already, but it does fill fast. It oversubscribes for every single intake, and we do have to cut off the tap. So it does oversubscribe. So if you are interested, we suggest and recommend that you get the €500 in to secure your place. And then at least it is secure, and then you can get your application documents together and decide which payment method you would like to go for. And Rabail has just asked about the eligibility criteria again.
Yeah, so effectively you have to be a medical doctor is the main eligibility criteria, and after that we'll ask you for your university certificate to prove that, and then the rest of the application process is just you give us some ID and you give us a personal statement. So yeah, Zahid, it's an MBBS, an MD, an MBCHB, whatever your undergraduate medical qualification is, that's what the Royal College will look for.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Dermot, if I could just say, some candidates are worried that maybe they haven't got enough basic pediatric knowledge. We bring everybody on board. Nobody is left behind, whether you've the minimal experience in pediatrics or even any pediatric experience. We're here to bring you on board and link in with everybody else. The modules, Dermot, they're available throughout the course for easy access. You're also able to text and email the tutors through the college. So if there's any outstanding issues or you're any struggling with anything you're not understanding, and I think the modules are available even after you finish for a short time. Obviously they can't be out there in the domain for everyone, and as I say, you'll be able to look back after your exam if there's anything was outstanding that maybe you felt you weren't asked about during the examination.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the bit that you mentioned earlier on, Mark, that never comes across in these webinars well is it's really enjoyable. It's really fun. The the tutorials in particular, the platform, the online content is an absolute, it's a joy to go around this. It's a really, really nice online learning experience. It's very visual, it's very interactive. The tutorials though that you get on a Thursday evening or a Friday morning, depending on where you are, you're with a group of 20-25 people that you've gotten to know very well, having a conversation on areas of pediatrics. The content itself is going to feel relevant to what you're studying, and it's sorry, my internet's a bit slow there for it while I'm sharing. It's a lot of fun. You get to know your tutors well. There's somebody from the program management team on every week. It's a very supportive learning environment, and certainly one of the statistics that always strikes me is that about 15% of the people that enroll on this program are directly referred from our alumni. So you don't get that without a high level of satisfaction. So it's something we're very proud of, and it's mostly down to the tutors and the guidance that they give. So yeah,
again with the tutors, we don't suddenly get straight into the modules. We'll chat and find out what everybody's doing around the world and have a bit of fun, and any stories, good, sad, or whatever, and again give plenty of time for feedback. We always leave some time in roughly around about the hour, or sometimes we extend that. We don't extend it too much, because then we do know you can lose interest and we want focus, but plenty of time to discuss things among ourselves and any outstanding issues. And even some of my trainees, they ask me about things that aren't relevant to that tutorial, or maybe they missed or are just struggling with. So there's always room to do that, both online and offline as well.
No, absolutely, Mark. It really is. There's a level of support and a level of guidance that I think is exceptional by the tutors. So, we are very lucky to have you and the others involved. Rebecca, I'm conscious of time. We're coming
Yeah,
up on
I
the
think
hour.
one thing I think that Saheed just said up there is I hope the course is interactive, and that's actually a little bit worth pointing out that today we've been quite didactic and talking at you, but it's nothing like that on the actual program itself and on your tutorials. It's very peer-to-peer and discursive and listening to each other's challenges, and it's a wonderful I suppose, dialogue between the tutor and the group. So it really isn't reflective of the program here tonight, and it really is very interactive and very discursive.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Anthony's just made a really good point there about if he changes location, will it affect his learning schedule? Not at all. So we had a doctor in one of the groups earlier this year who moved from Dublin in Ireland to Auckland in New Zealand. And they simply went from having a Thursday evening Irish time tutorial with one of the tutors to having a Thursday evening New Zealand time tutorial with a different tutor. So it's very, that we can easily take that into account. Nee has asked what happens if you can't complete it within 6 months. Well, that actually happened to Caroline. So Caroline would have joined the program, I think, in August or October of last year. And then she got extraordinarily busy with COVID and said, you know, the responsible thing to do here is to pause after the first block. And then she came back in and did the second and third block with the group that started in February of this year. And she's finished the program now. So there's a lot of flexibility in this program, and the Royal College are really, really supportive. So wouldn't be concerned about anything like that.
And I think it is really a testament to the program that if you are struggling and you feel the need to drop out for like a small interim period, the amount of people that actually come back is extremely high. There's very few full attrition on the program. Very hardly any. If they do drop out, they have a tendency to come back for the next intake or the one thereafter. So that's wonderful to see.
I was going to say that 3% of non-completion includes people that, you know, just didn't make it through the exam, but also people that had to drop out and couldn't come back. So it's a tiny number. You know, so no, we're absolutely delighted with how successful people are on the program.
And again, some people with exams aren't great examinees and they worry a bit. So if you're unfortunate not to pass first time around, you're given ample time to repeat. And we're here to get you through it. But obviously, I repeat, if you engage, you'll have no problem passing.
Absolutely. And anyone that engages with this program, you know, everyone's a doctor. There's absolutely no reason you won't qualify. So, yeah, brilliant. Well, Mark, thank you so much for your input this evening, as always. And our thanks to Caroline for giving the learner perspective earlier. It's always really good to get.
And just to let everybody know that you will be getting a recording of this webinar in your email tomorrow. And you will also get a link to apply and a link to pay your deposit by email as well. So, and I do urge, and just to reiterate, that it does fill fast. So if you are interested in progressing for the forthcoming intake on the 31st of October, we'd advise that you go ahead and pay your deposit. And you'll get all of that information tomorrow by email.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mark.
Take care. Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Bye.